All right, today we're cracking open one of the most incredible machines ever built, the jet engine. We're going to figure out how this thing actually works. Have you ever been on a plane, sitting in your seat, and you look out the window with that giant engine hanging off the wing and just think, how? Seriously, how does that thing propel this massive metal tube through the sky? There are no flapping wings, no propellers. It's just pure, brilliant engineering. Well, the answer is actually way simpler and cooler than you might think. It all comes down to controlled fire. That's it. Airplanes fly because of thousands of perfectly timed explosions happening over and over and over again. Okay, so let's break that down. To really get how the whole engine works, you just have to wrap your head around this one big idea. A jet engine, even though it looks insanely complicated, really only does two things. First, it acts like a giant air pump. And second, it's a machine that's designed to make a very, very powerful and controlled fire. That's the whole game. And when you combine those two jobs, pumping a ton of air and then setting that air on fire, you get something called thrust. It's this incredibly powerful, continuous push that shoves the airplane forward. So how do we get from just plain old air to all that power? Well, it all happens in 4 simple stages. Let's dig into the first 2, which I like to call suck and squeeze. So the whole process kicks off right at the front with that huge fan you can see. Its only job is to suck in ridiculous amounts of air and just cram it into the engine. The more air it can grab, the more power we can get later on. It's kind of like trying to drink the entire sky through a giant metal straw. Okay, once the air is inside, it gets shoved into the compressor. Now, this is just a bunch of smaller fans that get tighter and tighter, and they do one thing. They squeeze the air. They pack those air molecules closer and closer together. But why? Well, think of a balloon. If you barely put any air in it, you get a tiny little pop. But if you fill it up until it's about to burst, you get a huge bang. And that, right there, is the secret sauce. Squeezing the air builds up insane amounts of pressure, and more pressure means you've got the potential for a much bigger, much more powerful explosion. This is absolutely fundamental to how the engine works. All right, we've got our super squeezed air. Now we get to the really fun part, the second half of the cycle, the bang and blow. That highly compressed air is blasted into the combustion chamber. In there, it gets mixed with a fine spray of jet fuel. An igniter gives it a spark, and boom! You get this massive but totally controlled explosion of hot gas. And the scale here is it's mind-blowing. This isn't just one boom. It's a continuous roaring fire, basically a chain reaction of thousands of these explosions happening every single minute that the engine is running. Now, before that super hot gas can escape out the back, it does something absolutely brilliant. It screens past these little pinwheel-like blades called a turbine, making them spin like crazy. So what does that spinning turbine do? Get this. It's connected by a shaft all the way back to the front of the engine, and it's what powers the compressor fans. This creates a perfect self-sustaining loop. The explosion powers the turbine powers the compressor, and the compressor sucks in the air for the next explosion. The engine is literally powering itself. And finally, that incredibly hot, high-speed jet of gas blasts out the back of the engine. This is the blow. And it all boils down to one of the most basic laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. You push all that air backward with tremendous force, and the engine and the whole plane attached to it gets pushed forward. That, my friends, is thrust. So let's put it all together. It's a simple, elegant, and incredibly powerful cycle. You suck a massive amount of air in. You squeeze it super tight to build pressure. You create a bang by igniting it with fuel, and then you blow all that air out the back to push the plane forward. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. That's all it is. So who cares? Why does this simple 4-step process matter so much? Well, because this cycle completely, and I mean completely, changed the world. Think about it. Before the jet engine, crossing the ocean was a huge deal, a journey that took weeks on a boat. Now, you can watch a couple of movies, have a little snack, maybe take a nap, and boom, you're on a different continent. This technology didn't just make travel faster, it literally shrunk our planet. It's truly a masterpiece of engineering, a machine that literally breathes the sky, tames fire, and shoots us across the globe. So next time you're on a flight, you'll know exactly what's going on inside that incredible engine right outside your window. The whole principle of suck, squeeze, bang, and blow allowed us to conquer the skies and connect all of humanity in a way that was never possible before. And it really makes you wonder, right? What's the next fundamental principle that will power the next great leap in exploration? What will the next engine conquer?